You're in the heat of the battle, your team is down, it seems like all the hope is lost. But then, out of nowhere, the invisible pioneer, the backbone of your team, the supporter, is there. Today, we're going to uncover the secret weapon of Pokemon Unite, the class that's often overlooked, but it holds the key to turning the tide of the battle. Yes, we're talking about the supporter class. Now, I know what you're thinking. Supporter? Seriously? I want to be the one leading the charge, not standing back. But remember, in a lot of games, the healer can be the difference. Look at how many times in the team fights I'm able to keep the team alive as they continue to dish out the damage. This role is the silent achiever. In too many matches, as I'm sure you've experienced, everyone just wants to be the maverick. But match after match we taste defeat, left scratching our heads, drowning in the sea of questions, until one day, the missing piece of the puzzle is our supporter. Hey guys, and welcome back to our channel, the climbing guide of Pokemon Unite. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more tips, tricks, and insights. Now, I know you might think this is just some spin of reality for your entertainment or for some YouTube clickbait, but hold on guys, because this story is rooted in the realities of the data and the numbers that we've seen. I've been busy analysing match after match, stat after stat, and the results were short of nothing astonishing. The numbers do not lie. We need to start embracing the power of the supporter, achieve significantly higher win rates. It's a secret ingredient, the silent force for tipping the scales of victory. Here you can see in this graph I've collated, look at how great the supporter class is. They're the only class with a higher win percent, 50. Now, who do we need to thank for this data? It's absolutely, again, thanks to the math cord. I've went through and grabbed all of the win percent, the average win percent of the Pokemon in the latest week, put them in a graph, sorted them by their class and averaged the win percent, because I had a suspicion that the supporters were putting in a lot of work this season. And as you can clearly see, the supporters are amazing. And we know that the all-arounders are suffering right now, but for our focus right now, it is on the support. So if you've been grinding to climb the ranks and you want to stand on top of that leaderboard, then it's time to rethink your strategy. It's the supporter class. It's often overlooked, often underestimated, but it could be your ticket to victory. They might not bask in the limelight all the time, but their contribution is the lifeblood of a winning team. Could it be the path to victory? Now, there are a very few number of supporters. There's Hooper, Wigglytuff, Blissey, Clefable, Sableye, Comfey, Eldegoss, and Mr. Mime. And each of them have their own kind of synergy that I think is really, really good. As you're going to see, they are kind of different. They're actually very different. Some of these supporters don't even heal, right? For example, Wigglytuff does not do any healing. It's more of a tank, but what Wigglytuff will do really well is it holds the enemies in a nice close position while you are able to dish out a lot of damage onto them. Hooper helps transporting your team to and from the base and repositioning them on the map, which is incredible support because positioning is extremely useful in Unite. Now we've got a series of healers. That would be Clefable, Blissey, Comfey, and Eldegoss, and they are really, really good at keeping your team alive. Each of them have a slightly different playstyle. For example, Blissey has got a single target healing and an incredible Unite for healing. Whereas Clefable has got an area of effect healing where the Unite more or less does damage, but it's based on a randomized move. Now these supporters are really, really good, and I'm going to share the build that I would suggest using for each of them. So let's start with Hooper. Hooper, you want to use an EXP share, a muscle band, and a focus band, and use this Pokemon with the eject button. This is a really good build. I'm going to say use that focus band instead of a buddy barrier, just because typically you're going to be uniting and not all the time you're going to get the value out of that Unite move being near your team. So focus band I think is going to give you the most value. Eject, because sometimes you need a flash into that portal, sometimes you need a flash into a different position, or flash past the enemy when you use that Unite move to try and pick up a key KO. Now, early in the game, I think you can lane with anything. However, in my experience, an all-arounder, even though they've got the lowest win percent right now, seems to go pretty well. But Hooper is nice support for everyone, and it helps maintain defense early. You can keep your goal zones nice and healthy because you can transport top and bottom, depending on which lane needs support. Now let's move on to Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff is a little weird, no healing, however a great support Pokemon, a little bit of a tricky spot this meta. However, I want to try and give a little more motivation for people to use Wigglytuff. So the build would be EXP share, focus band, and buddy barrier. Now we've had a discussion about the EXP share. Amazing item, eject button for sure. Now Wigglytuff's Unite clears all the CC for your team in that area, which is really, really good, and it's got a buff with a time reduction recently, so I think that's being a little bit slept on. Now, you probably want to lane this Pokemon with like an early mage that can get fed from that EXP share, because when you use Sing, you're actually debuffing the enemy's defense and special defense by a quarter when they're asleep. Or I think it's when they go to sleep for 1.5 seconds. Somebody can clarify that in the comments for me. However, really, really, really strong Pokemon. I'd suggest using this with one of your mages like Espeon or Sylveon or even Glaceon, but Glaceon's probably better in jungle. Early in the lane, you can feed those evolutions up to level 4 and you can do a lot of work there. Blissey, same build. EXP share, focus band, buddy barrier. I would probably lane Blissey with an attacker that can come online early, because Blissey can do a bit of tanking, but definitely a lot of healing. I'd suggest using the X speed on Blissey, but this Pokemon's Unite move is definitely complex. You want to run through the enemies, and you're going to see a lot of value there because it does quite a lot of burst damage. Probably deserves its own video. Clefable, same build. EXP share, focus band, buddy barrier, X speed. You need to keep yourself alive with Clefable. Now this Pokemon has incredible secure and amazing healing at level 4. Honestly, you can lane with pretty much anything with Clefable because you're going to be able to get to level 4. You've got really strong secure with Disarming Voice, but make sure you never ever use this skill to do damage to the farm you want to try and secure. Remember, with the EXP share, if you secure the farm over your teammate, they're still getting 100% of the experience. So great Pokemon to help funnel one of your teammates. Sableye's a little bit weird. I think Sableye's more of a speedster, kind of in a class of its own, but it's really good for giving vision. I would use this Pokemon with an attack weight, float stone, and an EXP share with the X speed. It's a bit of a tricky conversation because I think it supports by providing vision, dropping the fake Aeos energy, and doing a lot of stunning and just being a pest along the way. Comfey, I would use the EXP share, the buddy barrier, and wise glasses with a slow smoke. And generally you want to lane with Comfey when you've got an all-arounder that can hold their own in the lane. And typically either that all-arounder or your jungler is going to be a heavy carry unit such as an Urshifu, or a Tyranitar, or a Zacian. Something that's typically an all-arounder, that's strong melee and has got really good mobility to get in and out of particular situations. Eldegoss. Honestly, this Pokemon can lane with anything so long as they can do something at level 4 or 5. This build would be EXP share, muscle band, because you want to be spamming the basic attacks. This Pokemon's more of an offensive supporter. You can do a little bit more front lining with Eldegoss, and you can do a lot more damage with this Pokemon. And I would be running it with an X speed. However, you could probably opt for an eject button. Now, my last on this list is Mr. Mime. Mr. Mime, I know it went through a really buggy, broken period with Power Swap and Psychic, but guys, the build is barrier and confusion. The fact that you can consistently change the terrain of the map with this Pokemon is incredibly broken. I've been playing quite a lot this season with Mr. Mime, and I am a big fan. I've also been watching a lot of people play Mr. Mime competitively, especially Bruv, who is an insanely good Mr. Mime player. He's actually inspired me this season to use it. And now I think an EXP share, a focus band, and a buddy barrier with an eject button. Now this Pokemon is really, really good if you have got 2 evolutions on your team. Both get really, really strong early. You change the terrain of the field so the enemy can't get away as easily, and those evolutions are able to just do an insane amount of burst damage. They do a ridiculous amount, and it also helps with escape. You can help your evolutions get out of situations because typically their mobility minus Sylveon with Mystical Fire is not actually the best. Now, if you're intrigued, here we are just scratching the surface because stay tuned, we're going to delve deeper into the world of the supporter class in our upcoming videos. We'll be unveiling the tips, strategies, and secrets to mastering this game-changing role. So please guys, be ready. It's time to train harder, support smarter, and ascend the ranks like we have never before. Together, we are going to redefine how we want to play in the solo queue on Pokemon Unite.